If you've ever watched a huge brown bear stand at the top of a waterfall and catch a salmon right out of the air, there's a good chance you've been watching the famous bears of Katmai National Park in Alaska. But what I didn't realize until recently is that these aren't just random bears appearing on a wildlife camera. Many of them are known as individuals, and they return year after year. They have different personalities and different ways of fishing, and people all over the world actually follow their lives. So I decided that I wanted to learn more about them, and I thought you might like to come along with me. The Katmai bears are in Katmai National Park and Preserve in Alaska. The Brooks River and Brooks Falls are especially famous for brown bear viewing. The ecosystem there revolves heavily around salmon, which of course the bears like to eat. Thousands of salmon moving through the river create an extraordinary seasonal food source for the bears. Brooks Falls is a very effective fishing location. It's a roughly 6-foot tall waterfall, and it temporarily concentrates the migrating salmon below it because of its height. But it's important to know that this isn't a zoo or a sanctuary or a managed population of bears. These are just completely wild bears making their own decisions about where to go and when to appear. So why do so many bears come to this location? It's mostly because of the annual salmon cycle. Sockeye salmon begin arriving in late June, and the bear numbers generally peak around the Brooks River in July. Bears need to take advantage of enormous amounts of food during their relatively short feeding season. A large dominant male bear can sometimes catch and eat more than 30 salmon in a day when the fish are plentiful. And I was honestly surprised by the size of these salmon. They are very large. But different bears have different levels of access to the best fishing locations. They are somewhat territorial. So imagine having to eat enough food during part of the year to carry you through the months when food is scarce. How would you decide where to fish for your food?
Psst. Hey you, I wanted to interrupt your video for one quick moment. YouTube is telling me that the majority of my viewers are not subscribed to my channel. So if that's you, if you're watching and you're not subscribed, I would love to ask you to consider subscribing. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up and consider sharing it with others that you know would love it. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Now, back to your video.
Another really important point to not miss is the fact that these bears are actually recognized as individuals. Both researchers and longtime viewers recognize individual bears through physical characteristics and behavior. They're looking at things like facial structure, scars, ear shape, body shape, coat characteristics, the sex and approximate age. I don't know how to tell that yet, but I'm just learning. They look at family relationships. I have seen mother with cub, it appears. I also yesterday saw, it looked like 3 young siblings running around together. And they also watch their fishing behavior. I have seen one that prefers to be at the top of the falls, while most of the others stay at the bottom. They do definitely have different behaviors. And many of these bears return to the Brooks River year after year. So you aren't just watching a bear. You're watching an individual animal whose history has been followed possibly for years and years. Now, I have to admit, it feels a little bit overwhelming trying to figure out who these bears are. Right now, I'm at a point where I'm just recognizing I've seen that bear. Yeah, I see what it's doing, and it's done it before. I don't have names to put with them yet, but I'm working on it. And if you've been watching these bears and you know, I would appreciate your help with that too. But there are bears known as 128 Grazer, 32 Chunk, 480 Otis. There is a recognizable mother and cub that's currently being followed. And I did see one the one day, and the cub was limping. And I did ask on the chat, and I was told that it had a paw full of porcupine quills, and that was pretty common. But the bear numbers are used as identifiers rather than giving them names and just treating them like pets, is the way that they see it. But hopefully we'll get to know some of the bears individually in future videos. But one of the most fascinating things that I've noticed is that every bear doesn't fish the same way. Bears definitely develop different fishing strategies. Some stand at the falls and wait for those salmon to jump. Some chase the fish through shallow water. Some plunge underwater. Some just sit and wait. And some are patrolling particular areas. They're a little territorial there. And these fishing techniques can be learned, including behaviors that they learned from their mothers. And the bear's own experience, age, size, and dominance can definitely affect where and how that bear fishes. And that leads me to my next point, that there is definitely a social hierarchy happening here. Brooks Falls isn't just a free-for-all buffet. Certain locations provide better fishing opportunities than others, and the larger and more dominant bears most likely obtain those prime fishing locations. Smaller or less dominant bears are most likely going to avoid confrontation and just fish elsewhere. And females with cubs most often use other portions of the river rather than competing at the falls, because they're busy watching their little ones. I will definitely include the website where they have their cameras linked, as well as the links that I am aware of on YouTube. There might be more that I'm missing, and if there are and you see it, please let me know in the comment section. But I'm going to give you a challenge. The next time you watch the bear cam, don't just watch who's catching fish. Watch where each bear positions itself and how the other bears react when a particular bear approaches. And then there's the whole situation of mothers with their cubs, which I love watching wild animals parenting. It's just fascinating to me. So you can see how the cubs are learning from their mothers, and especially the fishing behavior that's being learned, the protection of their cubs, how the mother navigates an environment that contains much larger bears, and then the eventual independence of those young bears. And this really allows viewers to potentially be following multiple generations of bears. So then there's the surprising August disappearance. And I discovered these bear cams in the month of August. And it was pretty empty when I first started watching. So if you tune in right now, you might not see it packed with bears eating. August is typically a lull month, but there is a little bit of activity going on. But the reason for this August disappearance is that the salmon are no longer concentrated underneath the falls in the same way. The salmon are beginning to spawn right now, and they're still very energetic, and they're more difficult for the bears to catch right now. So many bears just leave the Brooks River and seek easier food elsewhere during the month of August. So if you see a quieter bear cam, it doesn't mean something has happened to the bears. They're following the food source, but then they come back. By late August, the spawned out salmon begin weakening and dying, and that changes the equation once again. Catching the salmon becomes easier, so bears begin returning. And the month of September can once again bring large numbers of bears to Brooks River. But now you may notice something different. The bears themselves have changed. Many are dramatically heavier than they were earlier in the summer as they prepare for winter. And this is going to lead into Fat Bear Week, which I'm really looking forward to this, and I hope you will join me and watch along with me. So you may be wondering, what on earth is Fat Bear Week? This is a very famous annual event, and viewers are comparing the bear's transformations as they accumulate the fat necessary for survival. But keep in mind that for a wild bear, getting fat is not a failure, it's not a problem, it's an achievement. Their survival depends upon accumulating enough sufficient energy reserves to get them through their hibernation. So I just wanted to point out why I'm choosing to add the Katmai bears to my channel. And I've really enjoyed learning about the individual wild animals and following their stories. That's one of the things that made following Jackie and Shadow so special for me, along with the fact that I lived so close to them as well, but I don't anymore. But I've realized that there are other wild animals around the country whose lives people have been following for years, just like Jackie and Shadow. And the Katmai bears are one of those stories, and I'd really like to learn about them, and I hope you'll join me in that. If you've been following them and you have information to share with me, I would really appreciate that too. So what's coming next in this series? I'm considering videos about meeting individual famous Katmai bears like Grazer, Otis, Chunk, the mothers and cubs, bear fishing techniques, observing dominance at Brooks Falls, the salmon run, the September return, preparing for hibernation, Fat Bear Week, where the bears go when they disappear from the Brooks River, to name a few ideas. One of the beautiful things about a YouTube channel is that it is usually always evolving and growing as time goes on. And this channel isn't very old, so it is still developing as well as growing and evolving. But if you're already a Katmai bear watcher, I would especially love to hear from you. Who is your favorite bear? And which bear do you think I should learn about and do a video on first? And if you're completely new to these bears like I am, let me know that too, and we can learn their stories together. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the future videos in this series. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day, and God bless you.